It's beautiful, isn't it? I'm out today in the countryside in a beautiful little wooded spot not too far from my house. When I started out this morning, the sun was shining and I had this idea of standing here talking to you with shafts of light coming through the trees. But the trees are just slowly coming into bud now. Well, not into bud, the leaves are opening from the bud as we're in the spring. I wanted to come into the countryside to do my monologue today because a couple of days ago I was talking about my desire for a piece of land and getting back to the land, farming, growing my own food. I think with this whole government incentive, this drive that we've seen in which they're trying to persuade us, or not so much persuade us, I think they're beating us into these 15-minute cities, turning us into digital citizens, moving us away from freedom, from being able to express ourselves within nature. I have that fear that we're going to see something happen in the next few weeks. My suspicion is it could be bird flu, but it could be something else, some other man-made and planned event that is going to force us back into our houses and to become extremely worried about things. But there definitely seems to me to be a move to get people off the land, to not experience nature. And in the recent years, with all the fear that has been pushed down at us and the sort of our responsibilities being taken away, in which the government or authority want to do everything for us, and if we don't comply they'll charge us or make us pay money. Everything seems to be on a penal basis, you know, we're being a penalty for an infringement. Because of all that, I feel that there is this urge to get people off this wonderful thing. And the thing about being in nature is it's so uplifting. The thing about listening to the birds chirping away as they are today, to seeing the weather change and the light come through the trees, to see leaves grow, it's so enlightening. It's so it raises your vibrations, it's cheerful, it keeps us happy, and it's where we should be, that sense of freedom. And I feel that there is this pressure, a definite pressure to go down a much more contained and industrialized world. We've seen it really since the Second World War, I think, the way that farming has become an industrialized, processed food, the most easiest type of food to apparently eat, a move away from organic, healthy food that contains all the nutrients. And we've seen, I think, you know, now in retrospect, that this experiment, if you can call it that, has depleted the soil of its life-giving properties and all the nutrients that go into the plants and go into animals. We've seen how there is this sort of propaganda, if you like, to show that animals, we shouldn't be farming animals, that they are contributing to this myth of global warming, the nonsense that we've been told is there to warm up the planet, and it's going to be a disaster for us if we continue in these old methods that we've been farming for, well, pretty much since man could walk the earth, after the hunter-gatherers settled down and realised that they could grow stuff and farm stuff, that somehow this is wrong, we need synthetic food, it's the only way we can feed the growing population. As if the growing population of wonderful people that people this earth with their ideas is somehow bad for the planet. And I think it's only bad for the planet, these growing population, if they're shoved into ever more tinier little cells and being fed bad food. No wonder people get bad-tempered and upset and angry and frustrated. In fact, the reverse should be happening, that we should get people back to the land in which they can breathe the fresh air, hear the nature, witness trees going through the life cycle, plants growing and all of that. It's so uplifting that we would get rid of so many of the troubles of the world. And yet we've been so manipulated. But I feel there is a huge urge now that people have seen the error of this experiment, that they want the opportunity to get back into the countryside, and yet we see that it is those with all the money, the so-called elites, and I know people don't like me to call them elites, those people who think they're better than everybody else, who are owning the land and buying big swathes of it and not letting people on it by putting up fences and putting in cameras and signs saying keep off. Well, I question, what right do they say they own the land? How has it come about that these big landowners actually own a land? Surely the land is a God-given right of everybody. The fact that somebody comes over in the 1066 and says I'm going to be the king and I own it, and from then on we have subsequent kings and queens who claim that they have the right, and through threats and menaces keep ordinary folk off the land, or if they are on the land they charge them. I mean, this is all wrong, isn't it? So I feel that there is a growing revolution of people who are beginning to challenge the elites, those people who own the big swathes, those people who want to control us. I think there is a revolution of people waking up to think, actually, we want to grow proper, real food that is wholesome and helpful. We want communities in which our kids can run free and learn about real life, not necessarily this digital world that we're all being processed like cattle to be pushed into. So I feel there is, and I feel that, funnily enough, where my channel started out looking at the heritage, the landscape and the nature of this country, and for me, being an Englishman, England and Englishness, the positive aspects for it, I feel that there is a turning, that we, the people, want to claim it back and claim back not only our sovereignty, but our landscape too, that we want to get back to a more wholesome and holistic way of life, of living amongst real trees, real plants, real nature, herbal remedies instead of big pharma making huge swathes of money with dubious medicines which come with huge numbers of side effects. I don't see the merit of any of that. We've been told that things like homeopathy is a nonsense, that herbalists who are coming up with solutions for people that have been around for millennia, really, are stupid people, are not wise, and that only the medical profession, only the doctors know the right way of doing it, that these white tablets that actually have been causing people perhaps things like autism and ADHD and problems like that is the answer. And it's clearly not the answer. So I think where I'm going is to experiment more, to explore more about the nature of this world, the freedom, the sovereignty of people, and encourage those who want to get back into the landscape, to explore what we've forgotten, to remind ourselves of where we are in the universe and those things that are really important to us. And so hopefully as the spring and the summer goes on, you'll find me and my partner, the lovely Julia, particularly on our English couple series on another channel, flourish much more in all of this. And I hope that you'll continue to join me. Of course, where I hear of the oppression and the nasty things and the peculiar things, I'm always going to question those, and that'll be part of the channel. But we need to embrace all of this and get back to this wonderful world that we once had.